Hey folks, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the first proper video in the Winter Anime 2020 season. I almost said 2019. And the first show that we're going to be talking about in our Winter Anime Winter Wonderland extravaganza is Darwin's Game, Episode 1, First Game, or as the characters in the show seem to like to call it, Darwin's Game. Before we begin though, I do want to let you guys know that if you would like to have your name shouted out in next week's Darwin's Game video, then be sure to share this video around on the internet, and then tag me at JoJo Talks Too Much over on Twitter, and I will be sure to shout your name out in next week's video. If you guys want more Darwin's Game content from me, a great way to let me know that you want more from me is to share the videos around on the internet, or just let me know in the comments, blah blah blah, all that engagement stuff. It sucks, but it's part of the algorithm, so we all got deal with it. If you want more Darwin's Game stuff, you gotta let me know. Because my friends, I gotta tell you, I am definitely going to be watching this whether or not I am covering it or not, because oh my, this is that good stuff. I was hoping, okay, here's the thing, right? Because on one hand, I didn't get what I wanted, because what I wanted was hot trash, and what I got was actually pretty competent. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little mystified, because the story, don't get me wrong, could devolve into trash. It very well could. But like just from the setup, I was like, ooh, killing game goodness, give it to me. But I kind of wanted it to be bad. Like a part of me was just like, okay, like Studio Nexus, right? What have they done? They did Comic Girls, which is good, and they did Granbelm, which wasn't for me, but is good. So I had that thought of like, well, I don't know, like maybe, like I don't really know what to expect from it, because with Comic Girls and Granbelm, it's not really my thing. The director, Yoshinobu Takemoto, he directed Comic Girls, but here is where things get interesting. He also directed Devil's Line. Oh, JoJo, I don't remember Devil's Line. Is Devil's Line good? No. No, it's not, but it was very fun, because if you don't know me, and I've wanted this forever, I want to cover a bad series. I've always wanted to cover a bad series week to week to week, but for whatever reason, I've never actually stuck to it, and I was kind of hoping that Darwin's Game was going to be hot trash, but alas, it's not hot trash. It's actually pretty damn good, I'm not gonna lie. Either way, I was gonna win with Darwin's Game. Either the series was hot garbage, and I'd be happy because I get what I want, or B, the series is good, and I get to cover a good series. And so far, I gotta say, this double-length premiere episode is honestly pretty damn great. Now, they did say that, like, oh, this episode's gonna be a double-length premiere. Oh, how cool. But the other thing that they announced later on is that the series is going to be 11 episodes. And I say 11 in big air quotes because it's very clear during this week's episode that 11 means 12, but we stuck episodes 1 and 2 and sort of mashed them into one, because there is a very clear point where episode 1 ends and then another episode begins. But I promise you guys, I'll try my best not to jump all over the place. I do have a list here. We're gonna go throughout the episode bit by bit by bit, and we are going to try to tackle what makes this series so good. And I'm not gonna lie to you, a lot of it is the sound design and music, but we'll get there. Yoshinobu Takemoto, the director, whose name I feel like I definitely got wrong earlier, and I'm probably still getting wrong, I gotta say, he surprised me here, because the direction right off the pop, I'm talking like the first instant we get movement in the episode. The first opening scene, it's super striking. Like, it's a visual treat seeing this dude like standing over top of the city as like a pigeon in his hand, and the pigeon flaps off, and the wings, I described the sound in my notes as crunchy. It just has like every sound effect in here, and I didn't write the sound designer's name in here, and I feel stupid, but the whoever is in charge of the sound design in this show, kudos, my friend, because everything has an impact, especially in this opening scene. I gotta say, the first half of the episode was fantastic. Not even the first, yeah, like exactly like where episode 1, quote unquote, would have actually ended. It's so good. Like, it comes out of the gate punching. And this opening is fantastic. The shot of the dude standing over the city, immediately cutting into Banda going up against Hanamada, I believe his name was. Hamada? I don't remember. Basically, it's Kanemane's friend from school. and things do not go this dude's way. But because of the way the show opens, you get this cold open that really sets you up for the sort of vibe the series is going to give out, right? Because not only do we get introduced to this character right away, this character flat out friggin' dies right off the pop. And I was like, ooh, damn, okay, we're in for some shenanigans. And I'm not gonna lie, the whole idea that it's a killing game where one of the first couple characters we see is a teddy bear who likes to kill people. Yeah, that gave me some flashbacks. I can't think what series that was giving me flashbacks to. Oh, gee, I wonder what it could be. But either way, the immediate mood that this cold open presents is so good. And like I said before, the sound effects, everything has this weight to it. And seeing this dude's, this ability, what we later learn is his sigil was like firing off like beams with like a box cutter of some kind. I don't know, it was cool looking. And you see Banda, the dude in the suit, just like gunning after this dude, hiding in the shadows and the smoke like he's the friggin' Predator or something. And he just gets in close for the kill, bam! Guts this dude's, like, I say guts this dude, but he just stabs through this kid's neck and then cuts it the hell open. And the kid drops to the ground, and we see the phone, and the phone says basically like, you lose, game over. And that immediately gives you the hint, like, okay, so we're in for a really kind of spooky killing game-esque thing that involves smartphones. Bam, boom, I'm already in. You don't gotta tell me more. I can already get a basic idea of how things are gonna work. And the show very cleverly only hints at things. It doesn't feel the need to explain things, or at the very least, overly explain things. We do get a bit more explanation towards the latter half of the episode when Shuka meets with Kamane. But it never feels like any explanation is over-explaining. At least it didn't feel like that to me, especially in the first half of the episode, which, if I'm totally honest, I way preferred the first half of the episode. Everything leading up to Kanemane in his apartment looking at the gacha thing. Like he finds a gacha element to the app, and it delivers a gun to his house. Everything after that is still good, but not quite as great as the first half of the episode. Because again, the first half, I was shocked at how much I enjoyed it and how well I thought how well paced and how impressive I thought the writing was. So my kudos to the original series creator Flip Flops, because you have developed a very interesting premise. And there's nothing quite like a killing game premise, is there? Whether it's Danganronpa or 999 or something like that. It's always interesting. We even had a killing game-esque show not that long ago where it was like a bunch of Twitch streamers get stuck in a killing game. And even though I did eventually fall off of that show, I still thought the premise was unique. And there's something about killing games, especially when you have a bombastic group of characters like we get here, it just makes it really damn fun. And I gotta say, Kaname, I'm pretty sure I called him Kanemane a bunch of times. Kaname is I think it's easy to say that he's bland by comparison to the rest of the cast, but it helps that he's voiced by Yusuke Kobayashi, who does infuse him with this sort of sense of panic. And if you don't know who our boy Kobayashi is, he is the seiyuu behind characters like Senku from Dr. Stone, but I think we all may know him from a certain other role he was in. I believe the character's name was Subaru from ReZero. And yeah, Kaname definitely has a sort of Subaru-esque vibe towards the end of the episode, where that manic, freaked out panic mode seeps in, and he starts talking and reacting to things as, like, there's little moments where you can tell Kobayashi is starting to kind of slip into Subaru, but not in a negative way, just in the sense that he's able to infuse characters with a real sense of panic. Like, you actually buy how scared they are in any situation. And Kaname is truly in over his head as an MC. He's not prepared for anything that happens. He totally gets roped in by accident. Everything that happens to him, though, I gotta say, it's not his fault. And yet at the same time, it is his fault. Because the one thing I will say about Kaname is that he is, dumb. He is very dumb. There is several moments in the episode where I was shocked at how he's just not taking anything very seriously. He's not until the killing game really sets in that it's real, like until he's forced to come to grips with the fact that Banda is really trying to kill him. He takes everything very lightly. He reacts to getting bit by a spider that jumped out of his phone by thinking it was just a daydream of some kind. He's not very bright. He makes decisions that makes me question if he's trying to kill himself in the second half of the episode. But at the same time, it all works out, so I guess it's okay. And again, like I said, the fact that he's voiced by Kobayashi does sort of make me want to like him. Yusuke just has this way with characters. He's a solid Seiyu pick for somebody who is meant to be sort of panicked and in a panicked and in a manic at all times. But he can also be kind of cool and suave as well. Like Kaname definitely has that sort of things will work out, I'll figure it out vibe to him in the first half of the episode. Once shit hits the fan, that's where he really starts to go crazy. But I will give the character this, he really knows when to buckle down, because during his big showdown later on, he is able to sort of hype himself up. It's almost like the character of Kaname is being spoken to by Subaru when he says, when did you become such a sore loser? Like he really starts to find that fire, that passion inside of him. We even see it for a second. Not literal his soul or anything, but they actually show you symbolically fire in the words when did I become such a sore loser? I can get out of this, I can fight back, all this stuff. You really feel like Kaname might survive this, and you actually get that sense during the whole Banda attack. And let's go ahead and talk about the first game, because it is some good stuff. Banda's design is inherently ridiculous, right? It's a giant panda bear in a baseball outfit, and his uniform number is 666. So I have a hard time believing that their town would willingly let their mascot character have the numbers 666 on his uniform. That's the devil's number. That's Diablo's number. He can't have that on a uniform. But it just adds to the sort of absurdity of the situation, right? It's showing you that the story's not taking itself super seriously. It definitely has dark elements, and it definitely has moments of, well, for lack of a better word, edge to it. But it never, because of characters like Banda, and because of some of the reactions that Kaname has, it also tells you that it's okay, yes, the situation is dark, but we're going to have some fun with it. We're going to be kind of goofy with it, and I kind of dig that. And I think the whole fight with Banda is scary, because I was trying to think okay, well, if I was in Kaname's shoes, what would I be doing differently? And honestly, not a whole lot. Kaname makes dumb decisions leading up to the fight, and Kaname makes dumb decisions leading up to his second fight. But once he's actually in said fight, he's almost a natural. Everything he does makes sense. He's being chased, first thing he does, okay, gotta go find a cop. And yeah, that's the correct decision. You go find help. Help doesn't quite work out, but he gets a rescue from his friend. Okay, awesome. Helps the friend out because the friend knows more than he does, gets the friend somewhere safe where he can try to kind of figure out what is going on, does try to make a call out. Unfortunately, the calls don't work, because another clever part of the series is that once the game begins, you can't use your phone for anything else other than the actual app. The app is the only connection to the outside world once you are in the midst of a game. After the game, you can use your phone as much as you want. But during the game, no dice. And during the fight is when we sort of get introduced to the more grim nature of the series and the sort of somberness that the show could potentially get to, because we get the character Kyoda, I believe his name is, and listen, guys, I like Kaname, as you can probably tell. I think he's a little bland, but he has sparks of that classic sort of Yusuke Kobayashi madness that he brings to certain characters. But part of me wishes that the show followed Kyoda, because Kyoda is a good man. He's a bro to the nth degree. He immediately knew that his friend was stupid and was gonna open the damn app after he said, "Don't touch it." So he knew his friend was gonna do that. So he followed Kaname, and he uses his bow. He uses this sort of crossbow. I guess that was the weapon that he had on hand. His ability, or quote unquote sigil, it was to sense the auras of other people, so he could see Banda, even though Banda had the ability to cloak himself, again, like the Predator. And he is unfortunately taken out, and as soon as he gets stabbed, I kind of knew this was probably it, because when I looked up the cast list, I did not see a character named Kyoda. So once they introduced, like, oh, this is Kyoda, this is Kaname's friend, I'm like, cool, nice to meet you, Kyoda. You're probably toast. And alas, I was right, because they actually managed to infuse a decent amount of heart into this character before he eventually gets the axe. And we noticed that we've noticed this a couple times. If you see a butterfly in a character's point of view, it probably means they're gonna die. Because anytime we see a butterfly, it's when a character is on the brink of death, which does make me curious because we see a whole crap load of butterflies in that opening shot, which tells me that I am very worried about Shibuya, because I believe the story takes place in Shibuya, because during the Yakuza scene, which we'll get to later, they mention Shibuya. But yeah, it's Kyoda, he's that man. Like, he purposely goes out of his way to help his friend, eventually dies for his friend, and tells his friend, like his last dying breath, he manages to send a text through the app that just says survive. And that, ooh, that got me. Kyoda was that man. A moment of silence for Kyoda, and we're done. And Kyoda was right. Kaname does have this sort of will to survive, even if he also has a incredible streak of dumb luck, because there's a couple times where he just gets stupid lucky. And Banda actually doesn't get taken out by Kaname. He gets taken out by a sudden appearance from Truck-kun. Only in this case, I believe it was Van-kun. A distant cousin. And we actually see what would happen if the attacker runs out of time, or if one character loses. So if you don't get killed, you are killed by the game itself, basically turning you into like cubes and then deleting the cubes. It's messy and kind of crazy. And we actually see those sort of cube formations later on, right? Early on, sorry. With a little bit of foreshadowing, which, like I said before, the show is really trying to use that method of show, don't tell. So right off the pop, we see these little sort of like what people are assuming to be street art, where it's pieces of land, either like roads or the sides of buildings, stuff like that, with these like body shapes, but made out of cubes. And so people just assume that it's street art, like I feel like most of us probably would, right? We'd just be like, oh, it's just some artist trying to be artsy, blah, blah, blah. But we find out that it's actually what happens when somebody loses the game or is killed in the game. The app will straight up delete that person from existence, turning them into cubes and removing the body, which is pretty intense. And from here, the series made me think, oh, we could be going down the like trashy killing game, trashy anime type of road, since this episode basically ends with Kaname learning how to use his sigil, which his sigil seems to be the ability to like copy things a la Emiya, Shiro from Fate. Like his hand even does the Fate thing that it does in Unlimited Blade Works on Emiya, where it just like takes over his hand. You know where Shiro's hand gets all blue? It does the same thing here. And he like I don't know if he summons weapons or if he makes copies of weapons. I'm not super sure. It's something like that, because he ends up copying a pen at some point, so I have to assume that he's able to make copies of items that he's seen before. This basically gives him the upper hand, and he's able to actually take out the Undefeated Queen, as another character calls her later, Shuka. And Shuka being forced to surrender instead of getting killed, because he refuses to kill her. So Shuka's like, okay, well, if we both want to survive, then I have to surrender. In doing so, it means that she now has to obey Kaname, which basically means that we're getting that typical, like, the nice, sweet dude protagonist who's getting caught up in a killing game, who now has a yandere girlfriend who kind of has to do what he says. So yeah, that's a little stuck. I'm not gonna lie. like most of the Shuka thing, I'm like, okay, I've seen this before, but I will admit, I still think it's fun. Even though I've seen it before, it's much like popcorn. I've had a lot of popcorn in my life, and it's not exactly the best tasting stuff in the world, but I will always say yes to popcorn. And that's kind of where we leave the episode. Honestly, the second half of the episode I felt wasn't quite as strong, leaned a little too heavy on tropes, and a lot of the sort of impact from the music prior just wasn't there. I feel like a lot of the sounds, the sound effects and the music in the first half of the episode was just a little bit better. But like I said, the music is a high point throughout the entire episode, and that's because it's actually coming to us from Kenichiro Suehiro, the music composer for shows like Goblin Slayer, Golden Kamui, Grand Belm, and of course, ReZero. The only other thing I have to mention in my notes is the OP, Chained by Asuka. Asuka, I believe, did the second OP to Alicization, which was pretty darn good, I gotta say. And the OP here, Chain, it's a banger. It's not like the best song I've ever heard, but it's definitely not the worst either. It does the job, but I gotta say the visuals in the OP have me very intrigued. It seems like we're gonna be forming like a tight-knit group to take on Darwin's game. Darwin's game. And I'm very excited. Like I said at the beginning of the video, it could fall apart, it could become trash, but if it does, your boy will be here covering it. Because honestly, I kind of wanted Darwin's game to be trash, but I was surprised to find out that it's pretty darn good. On that note, everybody, I'm going to wrap up my thoughts here. I wanted to give this episode an A at first, but the second half really isn't as strong as the first half, so I'm going to give it a B, but know that I adored the first half of this premiere, and I am very excited for more Darwin's game. And that's going to do it for today's video, everybody, so I hope you guys enjoyed, and before we go, as always, I have to give a big thank you to the good folks over on Patreon, especially those in the Earl Grey tier: Andrew W., Calvin A., Crowbar of Irony, Daniel G., Digger the Fox, Dominic G., Ionos, Urza, Ginkutaku, Godzilla Fan, No For Nothing, Maria Teresa, Marshall B., Mirth Mouser, Cell, Shadow Creative, Sipco Games, Somastan, Stephen G., Sakochi, Tristan G., and Verdon. A huge thank you to all of you in the T Squadron for your continued support, and if you too would like to join the T Squadron, then be sure to check out the first link in the description to check out our Patreon page, see all the cool rewards you can get over there, as well as access to our Patreon exclusive Discord for as little as $1 a month. And with that said, we're going to wrap up today's video, everybody, so thank you all once again for watching, and if you are feeling stressed out today, then you go have yourself a warm cup of tea, and I will talk to you all again real soon.